Welcome to the Daily MBA, where business wisdom is served fresh and fast, straight from one of the top MBA programs in the world. I'll give you summaries of my lectures and readings, as well as the most important insights gained from an MBA, so you can apply all of this knowledge in every business. Let's get started. In today's episode, I'm going to finalize talking about relevant costs in costing methods or profitability, because we're going to be talking about when to consider special orders. So special orders may be all of those that may be asked by a client, but that they would require you to do something special in your product. So let's say if you are selling a type of beer, they would like for it to have a different concentration of alcohol. Or if you're selling tables, maybe they would like them to be a bit smaller or a bit bigger than they actually are. So when should you be taking these special orders? This is also going to be a special part that you must plan in order to know if this is going to be profitable or not. So what I'm going to give you is just a rule of thumb. If you have enough capacity, which means the price is above your variable costs and you already have some extra capacity for production, go for it, accept. And the minimum acceptable selling price is going to be the order's incremental cost. So it costs you just this more to create the table. Well, then that's going to be the minimum that you can charge for it. If you can get even more, then that's better. But this is going to be an easy decision. Then, if the order replaces normal business, then you have to consider the opportunity cost, which is something that I explained 2 episodes before this one, and it's going to be you have to be sure that you are better off taking this special offer than if it was business as usual, because what I told you, you never want to take a decision if you have a higher opportunity cost. So if creating this new table that I want is going to cost me even more than keeping production as it is, I don't want to be making these changes. And if I'm not going to be earning more money, especially no. So you have to assure that you're better off. And so your selling price is going to be greater than, or at least the same as your usual selling price, because you have to ensure that you have better opportunities than the ones that you currently have. Ultimately, what we're going to look for is which is the most profitable option, not just the good option. Because you have to choose the option that has the lowest relevant costs, but always consider opportunity costs, because these are going to be very, very important for any type of decision. So let's say, for example, all of the special order things may come in different types of scenarios. One of them may be a keep or drop a product line, or maybe even add a new product line. So the general rule is going to be to discontinue a product when its total contribution margin does not cover the avoidable fixed costs. And so this is going to be a decision that many companies might incur in when they are closing operations or closing a specific product, and it's not even that it's a bad product, but its total contribution margin isn't covering the avoidable fixed costs that we could take if we don't do that line or we don't do that product. So this is going to be a similar decision. Should you do it or shouldn't you do it? You can do this analysis for any type of product. Another type of analysis that may be related to this is going to be outsourcing versus insourcing. So you have to choose the option that's going to have the lowest relevant costs. And when you're doing this, you should also consider that insourcing will always include opportunity costs, because when you're doing something in-house, even if you already have the capacity to do it, the people that you will assign for this task are not doing something else. So this is going to be what's considered an opportunity cost. You may also want to consider if you're going to sell something as it is or if you're going to process it further. So let's say if I have a coffee farm, should I sell the coffee beans or should I be processing and selling already a prepared type of coffee, and it would be better? What you have to know is that processing it is going to be good if the incremental revenue will exceed the incremental costs, because obviously processing something even further will take you into more and more costs every time. So what you want to know is, did those costs get covered, and even better, if they generated more profit? So you would only like to produce more if it's generating something extra. And the last thing that we should consider is constrained resources. And I'll spend a little bit more time on this one, because here what you want to know is that you have to maximize the contribution margin per unit of the constrained resources. So without constraint, you would only look for the highest contribution margin, but when you have a constraint, you have to maximize it within the constraint, or you have to purchase extra capacity. And that would involve redesigning production processes or even using existing capacity to do it. So whatever it is, you should do more of what's giving you more money first. This is going to be the basic rule. So rule of thumb that you can take when you have constrained resources: prioritize what will give you more. And then you can start going on into the other projects with your remaining capacity, but always in this order. Start doing what is most profitable. If we were to think of the constrained decisions, what I would suggest would be first creating a list with all of the expense categories. So this would be either fixed or variable costs. And then I would calculate the volume produced and sold. So this is going to lead you to have the quantity and also the price. Once you have all of that, third step would be calculating the contribution margin. And then lastly, fourth step would be just as long as you're above a specific price, it is profitable. And so you're going to do it. And this is going to help you organize for constrained decisions. The last and final thing would be considering if you should add an additional line. So what are the steps for knowing if it's worth it or not? First, you should calculate incremental revenue, and this is going to mean the expected quantity times the expected price. So the incremental revenue would be technically what you're expecting to get. Then you have to calculate incremental costs. So this is going to be what it will cost you to get a new input, which means technically getting your expected new costs. So let's go back to my coffee example. If I was expanding it and producing up further, it could be considered as adding a new line. So this new line will be incrementally bringing me revenue, but it will also be incrementally increasing my costs. So third step over here when considering if you should build up an additional line would be setting up an objective. And so this is very important, because if you can't measure it or if you don't have a specific goal, it's going to be very hard to know if this situation was the right one. So maybe I can put a conditional saying 10% of the revenue from sales is going to be set as conditional. And so this would imply that I create a new equation where I say the gain is going to be equals the revenue minus the total cost minus my required return. So I want at least that amount. And then lastly, the fourth step would be considering, again, opportunity costs. So you just gave up something. So the gain minus the opportunity cost will become your new conditional. So if that is positive, if you gained more than the opportunity cost, then you should take it and you should open up that new line. Just know that it's not a simple decision, and you should always be considering what the implications of opening up a new line would mean. With all of this, I hope you already have some clear methods on the decisions that you have to do regarding costing. So either that may be a special order regarding what we mentioned today, or with the costing methods such as absorption, variable, and ABC costing, or it may also be some of the first things that we learned, such as high-low method or CVP analysis. If you missed one of those episodes, be sure to check it out. Also share this episode with your friends that want to learn about business, and give me a review if you enjoy the content that I'm creating. I'll see you next week to keep learning more about budgeting and variance analysis.